Good day to you all. It's Leo Cheers from Mythmaster here to talk to you about one of my favourite X-Men characters and her portrayal in one of my favourite X-Men movies, X-Men First Class. She did technically appear in X-Men Origins Wolverine, but for about a minute, and her main purpose was to be a bullet shield for Scott Summers, who was also in that movie. Plus, she is the sister of Wolverine's love interest, so her name is technically Emma Silverfox. But back to the actual point of this video. In X-Men First Class, Emma Frost was portrayed by January Jones and was the right-hand woman to Sebastian Shaw of the Hellfire Club. In the movies, the Hellfire Club is a group of mutant terrorists hiding behind a gambling front who want to kill all the humans, whereas in the comics, they are a society of rich and posh mutants who work behind the scenes to tip politics and manipulate governments in their favour. Plus, in the comics, the Inner Circle each have a title relating to a chess piece, and Emma Frost is often known as the White Queen. Emma Frost first appeared in Uncanny X-Men number 129 in 1980 as part of the Phoenix Saga storyline as a member of the villainous Hellfire Club. Over the years, she has been the headmistress of a Massachusetts academy, where she trained a mutant team known as the Hellions, who were later murdered, causing Emma to fall into a state of depression. She joined the X-Men and became a teacher at the Xavier Institute for Higher Learning, where she mentored the Stepford Cuckoos, a telepathic quintuplet of teenage Emma Frost clones, and also engaged in a psychic affair with Scott Summers. She was a teacher on the island nation of Genosha before Sentinels killed 16 million mutants and decimated the island, leaving her as one of the few survivors. She was one of the 5 mutants bestowed with the Phoenix Force in Avengers vs. X-Men, and more recently she was a member of the Quiet Council of Krakoa, as well as running the Hellfire Trading Company. On Krakoa, she was the main organizer of the 3 Hellfire Galas, and in the Fall of X event, while on the run from Orcus, she got married to Tony Stark in a Vegas wedding, and also tortured Dr. Stasis with visions of himself being killed by basically every mutant until he succumbed to a heart attack and died. Emma Frost started off as a pure villain, but over time has undergone one of the most drastic, and in my opinion best, character arcs in Marvel. She's still as manipulative, cunning, and witty as ever, but ever since running the Massachusetts Academy and being a teacher in so many situations, she's always prioritized the well-being and safety of her students. Obviously, this entire arc couldn't happen in her single appearance in First Class, with her being killed off-screen before Days of Future Past, but January Jones' portrayal did miss a few beats, in my opinion. Her appearance was not one of them, though. January Jones in this movie looks just like how I'd imagine Emma Frost to look in live action, and her outfits are stunning, and look exactly as she does in the comics with her first appearance in the movie, in the secret room behind the club, having the cape, the hair, and basically everything, being very similar to Emma's first appearance. Throughout the rest of the film, Emma wears a small variety of costumes, all pure white, which maintain her stylish look, while also being more practical for the situation at hand, which I think fits the character very well. I'd have liked to see her in some slightly more extravagant costumes, but given the plot and tone of the movie, I understand why they wouldn't have worked. So we see her costume at the Hellfire Club, which is the most comic accurate, and she has her relaxation costume while she's on the boat. But for the rest of her scenes, she wears a sort of white jumpsuit, which, as I said, isn't the most Emma, but it's practical given that she spent most of the rest of the movie in either the Arctic or in Russia, and then she is transported to prison before the halfway mark. I'll quickly bring up a selection of images of different costumes Emma has worn over the years in the comics. So, in general, the appearance is essentially spot on, given the locations she went to. I don't, however, like how her clothes meld into her diamond form, but her diamond form is a whole other matter, which I'll talk about later. As mentioned earlier, comic book Emma is manipulative, cunning, and sardonically witty. She always stands out and likes to, and usually does, have control of every situation that she's in, but at times she's unsure of herself, and on Krakoa her good side has shone through, for example with her having the moral high ground over Magneto and Professor X. She is one of the only mutants that they consider to be on their level, and, dare I say it, fear. January Jones's performance is a bit soft-spoken in my opinion, as I think that Emma should have an almost exaggerated British drawl, like Kate Blanchett does when she plays Hela. In the comics, Emma Frost is American, but she chooses to speak in a British accent because she wants to and no one's going to stop her. Furthermore, in the movie, Emma is very straightforward, saying things like, he's lying, or he's here to kill you, or was almost bland, which is not a word used to describe the White Queen. In terms of her relationship with Shaw, I feel like Emma's a bit submissive, often turning to look at him after doing something or looking to him for guidance. Basically, everything that she does is on behalf of Shaw, and she has no personal agenda at all. However, Jones does nail some of the charm of Emma, and there are some moments which stand out, such as when she's in Russia and she bends the mind of a Russian general to make him think that he's getting what he wants, while in reality she is just sitting on a chair and just as pathetic while eating a cracker, which I think just seems amazing. And for most of us, I'm kind of blaming the writing, not the performance. Overall, her personality could be recognized as Emma Frost's, but it's maybe the main letdown of this iteration of Emma. Emma Frost's powers are her telepathy and her diamond form, both of which she uses in the movie. Technically, she doesn't get her diamond form until the attack on Genosha, but I think it's fine that they used it given that they probably wanted to make the character more recognizable in the movie. I will now list what we see her use her powers for in the movie. Talking into someone's mind, showing she has a diamond form, reading people's minds for sure, knocking Eric off a boat, blocking Charles' telepathy, which I must admit does have a really cool diamond-like effect. She gets some ice, she tests the anti-telepathy helmet, she senses Cerebro, makes an illusion of herself making out with a man, protects herself from telepathy again, gets restrained by two adult men, gets nearly shattered by a bedpost, reads some more minds, and breaks some glass. Now for some things that she has done in the comics. Making herself and other people invisible with her telepathy, putting crowds to sleep, frying minds, broadcasting worldwide messages, creating illusions, mentally overpowering Professor X, remotely accessing Cerebra by mind controlling Toad from an unknown distance, and transferring consciousnesses. And in her first appearance, she took down Storm, Wolverine, and Colossus, all of whom had been trained to protect themselves from telepathy, with a single thought, and that's only her telepathy. In the movie, her diamond form is nearly shattered by a bedpost. In the comics, the only things that have been able to break it are diamond bullets hitting her at a precise point, and things like multiple hits from Mjolnir. And on the other hand, she's been able to take blows from the Hulk and powerful blasts from Iron Man, and come off, maybe not fine, but undamaged. Plus, despite beating on Magneto earlier on in the movie, him and Professor X managed to restrain her fairly easily in the bedroom. That came out wrong. Basically, Emma Frost is very underpowered in the movie, in my opinion. When she is trapped in prison, she walks up to the glass and makes a hole in it to talk to the guards, and presumably she read their mind before that. She's displayed being able to make illusions in the movies, so I don't understand why she doesn't attempt to escape at all when it would be a piece of cake. Maybe she thinks it just isn't worth it, or maybe the writers just couldn't allow a powerhouse like her to be in the final fight. Well, look what they did to Tide, and he's not even a powerhouse. They just took him out of the final fight anyway. Well, it could be debatable he's a powerhouse because he destroyed the Proto Cerebro, but okay. Well, as you may be able to tell, I'm a bit disappointed by what they did to the Queen in regards to her powers, and I hope that it can be remedied if she ever makes it to live action again. Speaking of which, assuming that the MCU is doing either a soft or hard reboot after Secret Wars, I'm guessing we'll be getting a fresh set of X-Men, and I think that the Hellfire Club should be one of the first villains, if not the first villains, that the X-Men face, and that it should consist of the classic members such as a more comic accurate Sebastian Shaw, Harry Leyland, Jason Wingard, maybe even Selene, and of course, Emma Frost. Or they could be introduced in relation to the Phoenix Force as they are in the comics. Either way, I think that while Emma would not be the main villain, she'd be a very significant threat and would not yet have her diamond form. And after that, I think she'd be a great candidate to appear in a Marvel television series, alongside her Hellions as either an antagonist to the protagonist who could be an X-Men or mutant like Kid Pride, for example, or even it could be a Hellions show, though I think that wouldn't work as well. Her and the Hellions would survive, but in the next big X-Men event, they'd be killed, and Emma would end up with the X-Men to next appear in something like a Generation X show, which would focus on Xavier's school based on the events of Grant Morrison's run, with the characters such as Kid Omega and the Stepford Cuckoos. In terms of who I think should play her, well, Barbie and Harley Quinn's actress Margot Robbie comes to mind, and I think that she has the look, and while I haven't seen her play someone like Emma Frost, I can imagine that she'd have the versatility. Someone who just came to mind while making this, like as in making the script, is Lily James, who you may know from Mamma Mia 2 or the live-action Cinderella movie. Both are in their mid-30s, and I think that Emma should be anywhere from 30 to 45, but that would depend on the age of everyone else, as her relationship with Scott is something that, while not necessary, is usually a part of her main plot. So, to conclude, Emma Frost works quite well given her role in the story of X-Men First Class, but she was definitely given a backseat despite her prominent role in the comics, being killed off screen before Days of Future Past as revealed in Trask's lab. January Jones definitely had the look and most of the problems are in terms of writing and plot direction. On another note, she played a small part in X-Men 97 and spoiler warning, major spoiler warning. Skip ahead 30 seconds or so if you want to avoid them. Done? Good. Was on Genosha when it was destroyed, and she gained her diamond form there like in the comics. In that show, Cyclops did have an affair, but it was with Madeline Pryor instead of Emma Frost. But with how the second season is teased with apocalypse and time travel, I'm not sure if she can fit into it. And since Emma has played a fairly big role in the comics on Krakoa in the last few years, I'm sure that she will enter the MCU at some point after Secret Wars. The main thing about her is that she needs a multi-movie/show arc in order to reach her full potential, but I do believe that this could be done. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching, or if you've skipped to the end, okay, that's an interesting choice. But yeah, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this, go check out my other. Well, I haven't done videos like this, but I've done quite a few MCU videos you might enjoy. Or just check out the rest of my channel. Have a good day. Ta-ta.